All right, Free Radicals, welcome back. I'm Dave, and thanks for watching, those of you who still are. This one's going over to YouTube, and we'll see what YouTube does with this. They'll probably keep this monetized because I'm going to be a little critical of some Tulsi Gabbard supporters, which is the first time I've ever done it. And by the way, I haven't switched to Bernie. For those of you who have been watching me on Twitter, who all of a sudden I see these tweets in my timeline saying things like, oh, Bernie Sanders is a charlatan, Bernie Sanders is the worst candidate, Bernie Sanders is Satan incarnate, and all this stuff, and I'm just like, oh, okay, well, I could block, I don't, I just look at it and move on. A couple of times I've just challenged the level, I guess, of animosity. All these Bernie bots are out there smearing Tulsi and so forth. I've complained about that in the past. About 6 months ago, I probably started talking about this. But we've got to work within the framework that is before us. And that's why 8 months ago, I was railing and saying, does anybody see that the DNC is a corrupt corporation? And again, we're doing the same thing, expecting different results, which is essentially insanity, people. That's what that is. So here's a tweet. Again, this is after the whole Warren handshake gate thing. I don't know, some people are calling it handshake gate. Just attaching gate to anything is, at this point, it's getting a little silly. But anyway, I also met with Bernie Sanders before announcing my candidacy. We had a nice one-on-one conversation, and I informed him that I would be running for president. In that meeting, he showed me the greatest respect and encouragement, just as he always has. Last time, in 2016, of course, Tulsi Gabbard endorsed Bernie Sanders for president and campaigned with Bernie Sanders, resigning her post from the DNC. So, I think Tulsi has proven that she likes Bernie Sanders. She's not hostile to Bernie, and you can look at it in a number of different ways. You can take a number of angles on this and say, well, Tulsi is being loyal to Bernie, and that shows that she's better than Bernie is to her. I hear this a lot. I see this a lot. Bernie's not nice to her, or Bernie supporters especially are not nice to Tulsi in some cases. Folks, I don't see a way around consolidating these resources. I did this tweet, and I don't think people understood it. And I even put Bernie in the unsure category with Andrew Yang. But I had a list of neoliberals, and I had the unsure category was Sanders and Yang. And a lot of people would take issue with my portrayal of Sanders in that, saying unsure. And then way over, which was weird, because it was actually more on the right than the left. I guess I should have done it backwards, but I wasn't looking at left-right paradigm. I was just positioning names under categories. Way over, I put progressive, I put Tulsi Gabbard. Or you could say independent. If you don't like the word progressive, I at times don't know what a progressive is because it's kind of a moving target. That's why I coined the term neo-progressive. All right? I think there are neo-progressives in our midst who are now starting to talk about Tom Steyer. They are. There are people out there talking about Tom Steyer. And they say he's strong on foreign policy. Okay, look, here's the thing about Steyer. He's a billionaire. He made his money, I think, as a hedge fund manager and a couple of other, go in and buy out and scoop up and then reinvest kind of things. He's basically like a Wall Street slumlord. All right, and I don't do that stuff. Yeah, he's concerned about climate change, but is he really going to make an effort to curb endless war? Because if you don't curb endless war, you're not going to have any real significant impact on climate change. And the fact that we're even using Tom Steyer's name when you have Andrew Yang, Bernie Sanders, and Tulsi Gabbard in this race, if we're even talking about Tom Steyer right now, really proves that I was right, number one, how many months ago I talked about Steyer, and number two, it shows you that the Democratic Party is a little bit in disarray. people are kind of grasping at, okay, well, if this person doesn't make it, we can grab onto this one. Look, I can bet dollars to donuts that Steyer and Bloomberg and Klobuchar and Buttigieg, whoever else, is going to consolidate their support and give it over to Biden, or give it over to whoever's the person of choice as far as the neoliberals are concerned. Do you think, what's Andrew Yang going to do with his following? I don't know. Maybe it could go either way with Yang. I'm hoping he would consolidate with Tulsi or Bernie, but I don't know that. He's very weak on foreign policy, and that's why I put him in the unsure category. But what I'm becoming increasingly unsure about within Tulsi Nation is the Aloha spirit, which again, I don't have a ton of folks that follow me who like Bernie Sanders. I don't. But Bernie is polling well. Bernie is fundraising well. After the Warren debacle, I think that people who are tired of the establishment signaling to them how they ought to behave instinctively said, well, you know what? We need to show our support for Bernie. Now, again, I have told people my problems with Senator Bernie Sanders. I worry that he's not going to stand up. He didn't stand up in 2016. He should have not endorsed Hillary Clinton. He made a calculation that he wanted to play again within the Democratic Party. He could have built a movement, either an independent movement or within the Green Party, in those years that he was not, helping out the Democrats or voting with the Democrats or whatever. He could have been building a movement. He could have said, you know what? I tried this. I'm out. I'm going to. But he went around saying Hillary Clinton's better than Donald Trump. And a lot of people, by the way, who supported Bernie, some of them moved over to Trump. It's a fact. Because they were looking for anything that was anti-establishment. And I think Bernie is somewhat anti-establishment. Is he a perfect candidate? No. He is not he's not he's not my first choice. He's probably my second choice. I've said this before. I don't know why this is controversial. But it's gotten to be controversial because the Tulsi people at times are starting to delude themselves. And I've been one of those people at times that said, hey, we still got this. We can still do it. And look, miracles happen in politics all the time. There is a path. I've talked about the path where Tulsi does really well in New Hampshire. She's got to outperform expectations there and do it where I think she hits double digits. I think if she can hit double digits, if she can hit 10% in New Hampshire, she can call that a victory, a huge win, and then on to other places. I don't know how she's going to do in Iowa. Iowa caucuses are weird. In South Carolina, you've got this completely different demographic down there. I don't know how well Tulsi's doing with minority voters because I never see any polling data on this. I know Bernie does well, and unfortunately Biden does well. I don't know who else in the neoliberal field, by the way, is going to do well with minority voters. It's either Biden or Bernie, okay? And I don't know who else, honestly. I mean, Cory Booker's out. Kamala Harris is out. So I don't know. So the reason for this video, folks, is that the channel, as you know, I renamed this channel a while ago, where I said I don't want to be a burden to Tulsi Gabbard and say, hey, I'm your spokesperson. I am your only channel that's out here supporting you and so forth, just constantly doing videos with Tulsi's name in it. And people are clicking on it and watching it, and we need you, Dave, and so forth. But I've noticed all that support has dried up and gone away. Not because I'm pivoting, but because I'm looking at the entire landscape and I'm saying, between the DNC corruption, between the media blackout, and between, honestly, I'm not blaming Tulsi, but if she's polling at 5% or 6% and she's not showing up in national polls really other than 3 or 4%, it's a reality check. That's all it is. It's a reality check, and people are flipping out because I'm just challenging reality. I'm saying, well, I don't see what you're seeing. I love Tulsi Gabbard, and she should be the president. And she could absolutely, I believe she would beat Donald Trump in a landslide. Absolute landslide. Although Tulsi, she might pick she wouldn't pick Bernie as a VP. I think she would pick somebody who would be like a unifying force. And that might rub these neo-progressives the wrong way, just like she's been completely rubbing them the wrong way throughout her campaign when she says things like, I don't think Joe Biden is a racist. And people flip out. They don't get it. They don't get where she's coming from. They think then she's a centrist or she's a righty. She's on the right. And you can go down the list and criticize all you want, but she has actually been extremely consistent with her personality, the way she conducts herself. Aloha isn't a gimmick. It's not a thing where she said, I'll put that on my resume, aloha. No, she greets people. She's been doing this since 2016, since she got on the national stage. You want her to zig, she might zag on you just because she looks at every issue and she comes to her own conclusions. She writes her own damn bills, as Bernie likes to say. She's got better ideas on climate, really, than any candidate out there. All right? But she understands things like the insurance industry and how some people might want to keep their insurance, but she wants to make sure everybody gets quality healthcare, and Medicare for all type option. She's got legislation. She's got ideas. Her platform is solid all the way around. And by the way, it's not scary. She's not going to give felons the right to vote while they're in prison. I just don't see how that's a good idea. I can go down a list of things again that bother me about Bernie Sanders. But this always happens in political campaigns where if you don't show, I guess, an undying or unfaltering allegiance to someone or something, because you're looking at everything, you're looking at the entire landscape. If you don't show that undying support, then you're somehow a traitor to the cause. You weren't really down with the struggle to begin with. You're a fake, you're a phony, you're a fraud. Okay, fine. Call me names. I am who I am. I'm a dad, I'm a husband. I have more important callings and duties in my life than a political commentator. I'll be flat out with you. The way things are going here on this particular channel, this is just me being charitable at this point, throwing out content. And I don't mean to sound bitter, but it almost seems, as long as I keep riding the Tulsi wave, people will like me. If I not criticize Tulsi, but I get a little anxious that some of her supporters, and by the way, I've seen this on the right as well. Back in the day, when I was on the right, I would see certain candidates, and all of a sudden I would see, hey, I don't see this the way you see it anymore, and they will drive the bus backwards and sideways over you, and they will throw you to the wolves afterwards. And they'll say, I can't believe, there are people that would, the candidate's already been nominated, and they'd still be like, okay, I don't care, I'm still going to write in this person. Okay, that may feel good to you, and maybe you should do that, because then you're showing that you got principles, and that you're willing to stick to those principles, even when those principles don't make any sense anymore because they're not pragmatic. All right, and I've said the most pragmatic thing to do is, if this doesn't work out, a third party needs to happen. You need to seriously take your vote, like a Jill Stein type of vote, and put it into the Green Party, the Libertarian Party, because until we break the stranglehold of corruption, which is embedded in this process from the way the media chooses candidates, they cover candidates, they put pictures of other candidates in the place of Tulsi Gabbard. I think it was Kristen Gillibrand's photo was actually used. Okay, and Andrew Yang got the same thing, got some random Asian person who was representing Andrew Yang in the photo. It's look, again, I hate to keep using the word rigged, because it is. It is. And the corruption aspect of it, and what happens at the end of all of this? Because everybody signed a pledge, including Tulsi, that they would support the nominee of the Democratic Party. That's a scary thing. How would you, as a Tulsi supporter, like it if Tulsi Gabbard strolled to a podium after the primaries were over and Joe Biden was the nominee, or Michael Bloomberg was the nominee, and she said, well, I support the nominee of our party because they're better than Trump? That's a depressing thought, people. But it could be a reality. And then your head will explode. Then what are you going to do? You probably won't want to do politics again. And that's how I'm starting to feel. I'd rather just, maybe I should be in the weird little club with the Green Party or with some other party that says, hey, at least I'm sticking to principles. We got no chance here, but at least we're not corrupt. Hey, we got very little chance to make an impact, but I'm doing the right thing. And you may say, well, that's why I'm supporting Tulsi anyway. But there are a lot of people who think, well, there's this path that Tulsi can take and she can get the nomination. That would be cool. A lot of progressive commentators, by the way, won't have this conversation because it's almost like the elephant in the room. Oh, yeah, there's Tulsi over there. And, she's polling kind of low and Bernie's polling kind of high. So this is how I'll handle it. I'll talk about Bernie today. And I'll keep talking about Bernie, and I'll mention Tulsi in a positive way because I don't want to tick off Tulsi supporters. That's how they handle it. See, it's almost like you ignore the problem or you don't talk about something that needs to be spoken of just because, again, you're trying to keep everybody happy and you don't want to rock the boat. You don't want to say anything negative. And this isn't negative about Tulsi. Tulsi is the best candidate out there. This is just reporting and observing on the situation and saying, okay, I'm registered as a Democrat here in the state of Florida. I will be casting my vote for Tulsi Gabbard in the Florida primary. Do I think Tulsi Gabbard is going to win the Florida primary? Nope, I don't. This is like Joe Biden country. I'm in one of the reddest areas, and the red area tends to be for corporate Democrats. Okay, if they're not going to vote for Trump, they're going to vote for a corporate Democrat. I know Mike Bloomberg is spending a fortune on advertising in this area, even though it's one of the reddest areas probably in the United States. So, again, I put my vote out there on principle, and I'll continue to vote out of principle. I won't vote, pressure. Under pressure, I won't do that because I believe that we can't change the system unless we stick to our principles. But we also have to live in realville, okay? And when I start to see things and hear people say things that aren't productive and in some cases not even true, that I'm starting to wonder if this is yet just another diversion that somehow is foisted upon everybody to keep us kind of infighting and distracted. And maybe we should just get busy in our local community. And maybe we should find another political party to hang with, or no political party at all. And vote on your local referendums. Vote for your school board. Vote for your whatever it is locally. If you want to go up to state rep or state senator or something like that. That probably is where the real change is going to happen. Power in Washington, there's a ton of power, and all of our money is being funneled to Washington so they can fight battles all over the world that don't have anything to do with you and I. But most Americans don't even see it. They don't even know it. And do I have any confidence that Bernie is going to switch this and fix it? I have very little confidence that Bernie Sanders going to Washington, D.C., as the president, is going to get much of his agenda passed. So you need like-minded people to go with him, both in the House and in the Senate, or the whole thing is for naught. And Bernie can propose everything he wants, and he gets the bully pulpit. Tulsi would be a better candidate as president because I think she could work across the aisle and she wouldn't offend people. She wouldn't call people names who disagree. You wouldn't have a deplorable label if you voted for Trump, for instance. And that's the thing. Some people have this desire just to get rid of Trump, and that'll make them feel better about life. And it's like a paper thing. It's like, if we get this person off of here, then I'll feel better. But yet the country stays the same. And who knows, it might even get worse. I hate to say it might even get worse. And well, how can it be worse than Trump? Well, just trust me on this. It might get worse before it gets better. So, I know, that video was kind of meandering and all over the place and fairly lengthy, and it's uploading to YouTube, which might be a mistake. But here's the final point I'm going to make. I am going to be true to who I am. The channel is called The Radical Independent. It's not called, I don't know. There could be a number of names for this channel. It could be the all over the place channel. But when I say independent, I truly mean it. I'm not beholden to any kind of progressive agenda or conservative agenda. I think, beholden to a truly an American agenda that looks at each issue and then determines what is the best course of action on that issue. And I think that's why I like Tulsi the best, because I think that's how she formulates her ideas as well. So again, I'm just saying, look at what is happening and don't pretend it's not happening. Don't pretend it's not happening. Don't delude yourself, because then you become it's hard to communicate with people who aren't living in reality. And I will always try to be fair to people, and I'll try to demonstrate aloha when I can. But when you keep coming at me with things that either aren't happening, or if you're coming at me with wishful thinking, and it's extended wishful thinking beyond the point of usefulness, then guess what? I'm out. I'm done, because I'm not going to be able to hang with you, because you're just going to continuously make me feel as though if I don't go along with you, and that feels cultic to me a little bit. That feels a little cultic, and I don't want to be part of that. I've got a wife and children. I got things to do. I got another channel to run. I've got errands to do. I've got things to clean, and this is, I'm not a full-time political commentator. I'm a very part-time political commentator. And in the end, I'll always just fall back on the things that are most important to me. So that's just telling it like it is. And I'm still hoping that the channel will grow and that this will be successful, but I'm finding that politics is a lot harder than doing a music channel. There's just so much going on. It's worse than herding cats, and I would hope that people would understand my struggle trying to make sense of it all. All right, I've rambled a lot. Maybe it's just therapy for me. We'll see what happens. This is going to YouTube. If you want to support this channel, if you want to keep me sane, just to see a few bucks rolling in, because I think I'm making about $3, maybe $4 a day right now on this channel. It's davidjspuria@gmx.com for PayPal donations. If you watch this all the way through, then I guess you're a little weird like me, maybe. So I appreciate that. I will talk soon, and I'll probably be over on Rockfin soon with more content. See you there.